If you think it weren't for bad news, there would be no news at all, think again. Welcome to Good Morning Sunshine with Kim Huston. Kim was integral in a lot of good news events during the past decades, and she wants you to know that there really is lots of good news. Kim will put some sunshine in your day. Right now, here's Kim Huston.
And good morning, sunshine. Again, Roth, I told you, every day we have hosted this show, it's only one time a month, it's sunshiny outside. So it is true, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. At least today it does.
Because of that, we can't let you leave.
Okay. I don't know. Have fun doing this. Yeah. It is wonderful. Well, Happy New Year to you. Yeah. It's good to see you. Good to be back for 2025. Thank you for having me again, and hope to have some fun shows this year.
And they occur on the second Thursdays of each month. People need to put it on their calendar. At least the second Thursday.
And if you have ideas, Good Morning Sunshine, WBRT@gmail.com is the email address. Email me ideas, people you want to talk to, hear about, ideas that you might have. Just send me an email. And I look forward to getting back with you and talking to you and bringing the good news to all Nelson Countyans.
I sent you an email and you sent me right back.
I tell you what.
Said he's here today.
We are right on track there mentally today, Ross. So I have been waiting to have this gentleman on my show because this guy came into my life at a liquor store. And you know, that's what we do here in Bardstown. He came into my life at a liquor store, but he and his wife and his family have made such a big advance in our community here, and we have welcomed them, and we have more than a half hour that we can talk to this gentleman about today. But I'd love to introduce to you one of my new and dearest friends, Will Hardy. Will, welcome.
Thank you, Kim. So good to see you guys.
And so who is Will Hardy? Well, I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about his background, but let me tell you why he's so important to this community. You know, for decades in my job, I had more people probably come up to me. First of all, are we going to get a White Castle? Are we going to get a Chick-fil-A? Those are my two most popular questions, always asked. The third one was, what's going to happen to the old Holiday Inn on the New Haven Road? That was such an integral part of people's lives. First kisses, weddings, meetings. I mean, the things that happened out there at that property made history. And it honestly was one of the first true tourism attractions because people, even from E-Town, it was a place to drink. It was the closest place to go to have a nice bar and have a drink, and so it was the people's place out there. And when, of course, the Holiday Inn shut down and it closed and it never came back to what we had hoped it would come back to, well, people, we've got something to share with you today. It is coming back. If you have driven by and you have seen the fencing out there, the signs out there, well, you're only seeing a piece of it because it's coming back, and Will Hardy is making that happen as the owner of it. Congratulations, Will.
Well, thank you, guys. It's been quite the journey, and I remember that day vividly. Your name had come up so many times, and when we had purchased we had the hotel under contract. We hadn't purchased it yet, and my business partner, Nathan Edmonds, and I purchased the property. And, of course, you start the whole due diligence and what this looks like. And, coming from a real estate background, I could see the vision very clearly, but it was a disaster over there. You know, it looked like something that you should shoot the apocalypse, the last scene of the apocalypse, or, a great haunted house,
right, exactly.
for the season. So your name had come up that you have to meet Kim Huston. You have to connect with Kim here locally. She's the mover and shaker. She knows how to get things done. And quite frankly, she's the one that, you put the glue to all the pieces around here. And never thought it would be in a liquor store that we connected.
Why not? It is Bardstown anyway,
but we were doing some tours and tastings that day, and the bus had dropped us off, and we walked in, and I don't know if you overheard our conversation.
I did. And I went up to you, and I'm like, excuse me, but who are you?
Yeah, and I just know we started hugging in the middle of the liquor store. You
were Kim Huston. You're
That's
the
right.
one I'm supposed to meet. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I think our mutual friend, Marcy Palatella, who owns Preservation Distillery, you had chatted with her.
Absolutely.
And she had mentioned for you to have a conversation with me.
That's right. And I'm so glad that we connected that day, because you've been nothing but an absolute blessing and support for us and what we've been trying to accomplish. And this has been a real dream come true for us. You know, I'm originally from Mount Washington, as you know, a town over. Grew up in Mount Washington, went to Bullitt East High School. From there, went to EKU. So Kentucky's always been in my blood. It's funny, growing up, we lived, 7-8 miles from Jim Beam, my entire life. And I guess it's kind of like, if you grow up in Orlando next to Disneyland, you don't think much of it, And so I'll never forget, as, California, or from college, led me to California for a while, doing some acting out there. And from there, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where I met my wife, and we were newly married, and of course had 4 kids. And I had a really cool men's leadership group out there that we would do samples of bourbon once a month. And this was about 9 or 10 years ago. And some of my buddies in the group were like, hey, man, you're from Kentucky. Tell us about the Bourbon Trail. And I said, I'm kind of ashamed to tell you. I've never even been on the Bourbon Trail. And they were like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. So I told my wife, and let's call this, 10 Christmases ago, because we would travel back to see the family for the holidays. I said, this year when we go, we've got to experience the Bourbon Trail. So we did. We rented a car and hit up 3 or 4 of the different distilleries. And, it left such an impact on me, which, as you know, how much growth we've had in 10 years, right?
It's been incredible. We've made history.
Unbelievable.
We've made economic history here.
Well, thanks to you and the leadership of the community. Absolutely, you guys have. And looking at what the industry is today versus 10 years ago, it's a complete night and day experience. But, they didn't have restaurants at the time. They didn't have retail gift stores. You just went into the good old fashioned, walk the warehouse and taste the bourbon and kind of get back on the road. And I just remembered how difficult it was trying to put my tours and my tastings together, even 10 years ago. Because, you're online and you've got, one website pulled up for
It's hard.
Yeah, for Maker's Mark. And then, you got Jim Beam and, you're like, oh, it would be great to maybe visit, Woodford while we're there as well. And because you don't know really what you're doing, you don't realize how difficult and how far these distilleries are apart or how close some of them are together. And so it led us to Bardstown at the time. And I remember thinking, it was an incredible experience, but I thought, I feel like there's a gap missing. There's something that we can do to simplify this whole Bourbon Trail experience to where an everyday consumer can really get the best out of their trip, And little did I know that it would bring me back to Bardstown. Yeah. No, of course, no idea.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I remember my wife and I were sitting in the hot tub kind of dreaming one night together in Atlanta. Again, this was probably 8 or 9 years ago. We were real estate developers out there. So I'd flipped about 1,200 homes in 18 years. And so I was very comfortable with that space, commercial real estate as well. But I was sitting in the hotel one night and kind of thinking about the future. And my wife had said something about, if you could do anything, what would you want to do? And I said, I think I want to own a hotel. And I don't even know why I said that.
I know. Why would you say that?
I have no idea why I said that. And quite frankly, I'd forgot that I even said that. She brought that up to me years later. And I think it was because, hospitality's always been in my blood, just seeing a smile on somebody else's face, creating an experience to where people feel seen and heard, and, there's nothing like a vacation or a moment where people get to kind of finally unwind or relax, and to make that easy for someone, right, or special for someone. And so, here we are at the Holiday Inn, and I ended up selling my real estate company a few years ago because I wanted to take a break, all right? I was just absolutely exhausted with work, and I told my wife, I said, I want to sell everything, and I want to take 6 months off and recalibrate. So we go on a vacation to Antigua. I'd never done this before, but it was kind of like a gift to my family. Hey, thanks for following Dad all these years. We're going to take 30 days to just unwind and relax. That lasted about 7 days.
Sounds like my retirement.
Yeah, exactly. Lasted about 7 days, and I get an email from my friend Ejo, who's now a business partner of mine, about this abandoned Holiday Inn hotel on this kind of auction website. And it was the craziest thing. I get emails all the time about real estate, and I just delete. But something grabbed me this time.
Yeah.
I'm at the beach, and I opened this up, and it was like something just leapt inside of me. It was like I just brought all these memories back to my childhood. My dad used to have bankers conventions at the old Holiday Inn. And I remembered the location by coming in, and I knew it was really the gateway.
It was iconic.
Yeah, it's the gateway to Bardstown and the bourbon capital of the world. And to see that kind of dilapidated piece of real estate right off the interstate, it was just disheartening for so many years. So it took me about 4 days to muster up the courage. I got my wife a few mimosas in her one morning, and I said, "Hey babe, what do you think about us buying an abandoned hotel in bourbon country?"
Oh my gosh. She said, "What, are you smoking?"
Well, she rolls her eyes, like she does, and she kind of grins, and she's like, "Honest to God, do whatever you want to do, but don't think I'm ever moving there." And I was like, "Well, no, that's crazy. We're not moving there." Well, here we are. 2.5 years later, living here full time, and have never been more thankful.
Well, cool. We've got so much to talk about, and we're going to take a commercial break right now and talk a little bit about Conway Heaton, and we'll be back more with Will Hardy talking about this dream story. Hard show, and I wanted to own a country inn, and that was always on because I was in hospitality too, and I always wanted to own a country inn. Well, that never happened. I do have an Airbnb, and that's about as far as I went with that. But you're living the dream, so let's pick up where you left off.
Yeah, so we've started this journey of doing our due diligence on the hotel, and and that's probably what won my heart more than anything, is that we were immediately welcomed in the community so well. It was good to, kind of start being back home with the family a little bit more. But the reality is again, I thought I was going to do this from afar, So as Nathan, my partner, and I started kind of kicking the tires and working with, and there's so many cool God stories through this whole process. We don't have enough time, but, just how we met our architect, Joseph and Joseph, Eric Hillsman has been fantastic.
Great
in that
company.
regard. Absolutely. And then how that connected us with our contracting group, Kelly Construction.
Right.
How that connected us to our third business partner, Brooke Smith,
right,
who has been a tremendous blessing and help with us through this process too. So on and so forth. All these little details that had to fall into place. And so, we had this idea that we were going to, what we thought in our mind, build a $10 million hotel, which is now turned into a $28 million
that happens.
Hotel.
I'm building an aquatic center. I understand the prices do go up.
You get the point, know. But as we started, kicking the tires on this, flipping up, rocks, talking to banks, trying to figure out what the leverage would be, working with you guys on historic tax credits, and all the local support. We just found pretty quickly that it was a need in the community, and as you know, in real estate, it would have been much more inexpensive to just bulldoze it to the ground
and build one,
and just start over. But when we got so connected in the community and heard all the stories, of all the memories of the Holiday Inn and the experiences that people had, I thought, I can't be that guy that comes in from out of town and tears this kind of memorabilia down and rebuilds something different. So that was a real challenge, is how do we take this old dilapidated hotel and bring it back to life? And doing that and flipping houses for so many years, I had a vision of what that would look like, but we've never been more excited.
So what are you going to have in it? Okay, it's going to be a hotel, but it's not just going to be a hotel.
That's right.
This is going to be something unlike anything on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, or honestly than I know of Kentucky, if anywhere else.
It really is, and I don't say that arrogantly, but it's kind of a one of its kind. Boutique hotels are really coming out and back right now.
Right.
I mean, it's again, nothing wrong with the flag hotels like Hilton or whoever. Those do very well as well in major metropolitan cities. But we just thought, you don't just find yourself accidentally in Bardstown, right? If you're in Bardstown, you're here to be a part of the bourbon industry,
right?
And so we were excited to try a unique concept where not just that we're boutique, but we're a bourbon resort, So we've got about 70,000 square feet. We've actually, if you've taken the original footprint of the hotel, we have flipped the hotel.
Yeah, you have.
So
and you don't see the beauty from the road.
No, you don't.
That's the thing about it. You're going to be surprised when you drive up the road and see the entrance.
1,000%. Yeah. Because, and part of that was us working with the historic tax credits. There's only so many things you can do externally, and you have to keep some of the preservation, which is kind of cool because the mid-century modern feel is, all kind of coming back.
Yeah.
But we took the front and the back and kind of flipped developed it, and we were given approval to build an additional about 4,500 square foot front entrance because we wanted high vaulted ceilings. So we've got 25-foot vaulted ceilings when you walk in. But we're very excited because it's called the Trail Hotel.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
And it is our version of a bourbon resort. We've got 5 bars on site.
5 bars. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is where it's important too for locals, because if you're not going to be a hotel person, we want to know what there is to do for our locals out there, and there's going to be a lot.
Well, we try to think of everything. We built what's called the Swim Club. So we've got a beautiful outdoor resort-style pool, a 25-person hot tub experience. We've got an outdoor cabana bar. We've built a really cool concept called Rejuvenate inside the hotel. So imagine like an ER room, an emergency room for recovery. So this is going to have cryotherapy. It's going to have an infrared sauna. It's going to have 2 oxygen chambers, and we're also going to be administrating that hydration IV bags.
Yeah.
So that's our place to have rejuvenation. Obviously we know we're hoping that everybody drinks responsibly on the Bourbon Trail, but we know every now and then, the brown water can get the best of some people, and so this is a way to just recover quickly. Inside of our hotel, we've got a beautiful high-end steakhouse restaurant that's coming in that seats about 200 people. We've got a whole crudo bar experience that's going to be oysters on the half shell, crab legs. It's going to be a whole seafood tower kind of experience, which is going to be another beautiful place. We've got what's called the Bourbon Library, which is a whole separate, unique little, about 35 people can be in there. Imagine just a beautiful little lounge area. We've got a private dining room experience that holds about 40 people. We've got what's called the Swing Suite, which is a golf simulation room. So it's got its own private...
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it's got its own private wet bar, and that's going to be great for locals in the community as well.
Absolutely,
Not just tourists, but we're hoping to get men's leagues there and women's leagues there.
Fantastic.
Get everybody kind of involved in that. And then we have another speakeasy that you'll have to have a private passcode to get into. It's covered by a beautiful 8-foot piece of artwork, so you don't even know as you're going down the hall the door even exists.
That's what it is, yeah.
Yeah, and so we got a great retail gift shop going in that's going to have great bottles of bourbon and cool artifacts and great Trail Hotel swag. So, yeah, we've tried to think of every little detail, So the unique thing is, and I think this is what separates us from even everybody else on as far as lodging goes, is that we built what's called the Bourbon Butler on the inside. So we wanted to create a one-stop shop. And going back to my story 10 years ago where I said it's not easy to create your own personal package on the trail. And then, of course, you have transportation to worry about. Well, nobody wants to worry about transportation while they're here having a good time. So we have built all that internally. So our Bourbon Butler will actually take you by the hand and curate the perfect package for you. So we set up your tours, your tastings, and then all the transportation's included within the hotel.
Okay. Wow. Roth, you wanted to know, and I think you got the whole deal right here.
Yeah, the concierge
of bourbon. I know, and it's not being done. So we're going to take one more break, and we're going to come back, and not only we're going to talk and finalize some stuff with the Trail Hotel, we're going to talk entrepreneurial spirit, because this gentleman and his beautiful wife are that here in Bardstown. It's not just a hotel. There's other aspects of their guiding light for Bardstown as well, too. So we'll be right back to talk more with Will Hardy. And good morning, sunshine again, and we're back to wrap up Good Morning Sunshine here on a beautiful Thursday morning with Will Hardy, the owner of the Trail Hotel, and we've been talking about that project, but I've never met such an entrepreneurial family in my life as Will, his beautiful wife, Alicia. Gorgeous family, but you have not only invested in the Trail Hotel, you've invested in downtown Bardstown, and you actually have a couple businesses downtown. So let's talk about that real quick before we have to sign off.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my wife, bless her heart, she's so gracious to, all she had known was Atlanta, Georgia, her entire life. And so when we started diving into the hotel and we got about a year down the road, I just realized, like any great project, nobody's going to care about your baby quite like you do. So I knew the conversation was going to have to come, that I was going to have to say, I really feel like, we need to kind of start making the move full-time in Bardstown. And I thought I was going to get all this pushback and everything. And unbeknownst to us, some opportunities opened up with Magnolia Network about doing possibly a TV show or a series here about Alicia and I kind of moving back. And when my wife kind of started seeing that, and really this town won her heart. Over the back and forth of coming back.
We can do
over
that.
A year. It really is. It was like the funny farms, like cue the deer. Every time we came, it was like, wait a minute, is this town real?
Yeah.
So she thought she was kind of visiting like this Hallmark, gift card. And so we sat down one day and she said, I guess we need to tell the kids. And I said, tell them what? She said that we're moving to Bardstown. And I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you serious? And she's like, it's very obvious that, we need to be there. So she said, I've been following you for 25 years. She goes, I've always had a dream of having my own women's fashion boutique store. She goes, I'd love to do that in downtown Bardstown. And I said, great, done. So we were, another crazy story, but we were able to find a great piece of real estate downtown that we purchased. And the idea was we were going to open her boutique in the front, and then upstairs we're going to renovate into a really beautiful 3-bedroom, 3-bath kind of a loft that we would live in for a while.
Right.
And then ultimately turn it into a short-term rental.
Short-term rental, yeah.
And so we got in kind of moving in her shop, and I got a little jealous, and we had it used to be a restaurant, so there was a great space in the back as well. So I kind of said, one day to her, I said, if you're going to have her version of a boutique shop, I feel like we might need to have his version of a boutique shop. And I said, so what if we did, your shop up front called Caden Lake, which is our daughter's names. Mm-hmm. And I said, and we open up a high-end cocktail emporium in the back end called Liam Ash, which is our son's names. And so she loved it, and that's kind of like the his and her concept. So we've had a lot of fun. She's been open for a little over a year now. Mm-hmm. I've been open up since the end of May, and it's just been a real blessing. So.
And they are must-sees. Alicia has beautiful taste, and she's got beautiful gift items, clothing in there. You have to go see her shop. And then for great cocktails and ambiance, Liam Ash is amazing as well too. It's one of those quaint places that you're going to get a good cocktail, you're going to see cool people in town, and it's just going to be a fun place you want to take your guests that are coming in from out of town. Real quickly, we only have a couple of minutes. Tell us about the Magnolia Network show, because that was so incredible for Bardstown to be part of that.
Thank you. Yeah, so listen, if you know anything about TV, it takes forever to kind of conjure up into they've got all these renovation shows everywhere, but they had kind of reached out to us. They knew a little bit of our background, and I said, we turned down a TV show in Atlanta 8 or 9 years ago, and I finally just told my wife, if we're ever going to do a series, it would be time to do it now in Bardstown, especially so we can highlight the hotel and just quite frankly bring more awareness to the Bourbon Trail, And so they chose us. We tried to start developing a series. They were kind of out of some money on the fourth quarter, and so they asked us to do like a preliminary episode on In With the Old, which is aired on Magnolia Network.
It's amazing.
And and so they take great stories about history and take old properties and bring them back to life and the preservation of what that is. And so we partnered with Old Stillhouse Distillery. Rick Pugh owns a property out there off Deatsville Road, beautiful old farmhouse right next to the train depot, and of course their distillery out there, the T.W. Samuels Distillery, and it was like a fairy tale kind of experience, because we were able to be on site in the property, going through the barn, finding all these cool artifacts that we could reuse inside the hotel. So I think we filmed like 1,000 hours for that, and it's a 50-minute show.
Yeah, so, and it's wonderful, and you drove 10 minutes to work.
That's right.
To do that. That's right. That's even better.
We renovated
too.
this farmhouse in 92 days, and it was actually too quick for them. They said, well, we're going to at least say 4 months.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't believe how quickly we kind of pulled it off.
Can you still watch it?
Absolutely, yeah. You have to go to Discovery Plus or HBO Max, and you'll find the Magnolia Network within that. Go to In With the Old, the series, and I think it's season 6, episode 3.
Okay, great. Yeah. Well, it's wonderful, and
it
it's so
the
fun.
Most beautiful sides of Bardstown.
I know, it really does. It was you can't buy that kind of publicity, at all. Just what we said about the merriest small town being on the Today Show. You couldn't spend that kind of money, and being on the Magnolia Network's the same way.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming in and investing in our community.
Absolutely.
Thank your wife, your beautiful children. They're in the school systems here. Some are away, of course. Yeah. But thank you for finding us.
Oh, my gosh.
We go out and recruit people to come to do things, but you found us. And you kind of came home, and now you are, while you're brought in, you will never be a brought-in. You are a here person. You are a Nelson County, and I'm not going to allow that. You are as strong and as set and concrete as far as being in Nelson County. And so we thank you on behalf of everyone. Thank you for the investment you made. We cannot wait to be there for the opening of the Trail Hotel.
Yes.
But in the meantime, 2 shops downtown, a shop and a cocktail bar, and you're just an incredible person. I'm glad you're my friend.
Kim,
I'm glad we met at that liquor store that day.
Absolutely. Thank God.
Well, give us an idea of what would be a date. that you're shooting for?
So we're shooting for April 1st of this year. I forgot to mention it's 95 rooms. There's 8 suites. We've branded 8 suites, Bourbon Education branded, so you can stay at the Limestone Suite or the Prohibition Suite, the Master Distiller's Den. So we got some really creative, fun concepts in that regard. But just imagine, walking into a hotel, being immersed, like a Disneyland, you're immersed in a bourbon adult land. And so every little detail, we've got an amazing staff. Schulte Hospitality is spearheading all of our hospitality side of things, and they are just doing fantastic. And so April 1st is the idea. We're going to kind of do a soft launch for 2 weeks for friends and family, and then we're off to the races right before Derby. So
yeah, that's perfect time.
Yeah.
It's funny how we sell out at Derby. A lot of people don't like being in the mix of everything in Louisville because it's just so overcrowded. Yeah. So they get here, they get their own transportation from here, and to get there, get down to, Churchill is almost as quick as some people can get in Louisville. Yeah. So it's a great place to stay when you are going to the Derby, and we have found that out over the years.
Well, and be on the lookout, because a lot of people that don't want to get into all the hustle and bustle at Churchill Downs, if you've already done there, you've been there and done that, the Trail Hotel is going to have an exclusive VIP Derby experience, especially for locals.
Good.
Where we can still dress up, look nice, have a great cigar in our hand, a beautiful mint julep.
I don't know, everybody's doing really Derby parties, so it'll be fun.
I know.
Yeah.
We're trying to bring some of those things back to the community.
We'll look forward to it. Again, Will, thank you. Thank you so
Kim.
much. And thank you all for listening to Good Morning Sunshine. Good Morning Sunshine, WBRT@gmail.com. Give me an email on what you'd like to see. Until then, have a great day.
Sunshine, get out there and spread it around. Good Morning Sunshine will be back next month on the second Thursday of the month at 11. And be watching for it on WBRT's Facebook and on Nelson County Gazette.